Hey guys, in this edition of Beyond the Lecture, I will briefly explain the various ethical theories that we have covered in lecture. Alright, so by now you would have heard of the many terminologies being thrown around in business ethics. They all serve to explain different ways of thinking before an individual arrives into making a decision on something. So let's go through it. At its very basics, there are essentially two types of people: those who are absolutists and those who are relativists. You might also hear words like deontological and teleological. They are essentially the same thing. A person who is an absolutist is a deontological person, and a relativist a teleological person. So let's look at the deontological absolutist theory. Here is someone who typically operates according to one set of moral principles. An agent whose beliefs and practices rarely change and is very dogmatic in its thinking. Two major theories fall under this category: the Kantian theory of ethics, which is for you to study on your own, and virtue theory, more on that later. At the opposite, a teleological relativist person can take on many sets of principles and beliefs, depending on the environment and the situation presented to the person. I stress the word depending. This is where the relativism applies. A person that believes different rules and principles applies differently relative to the social environment you're in. There are also two major theories under the teleological category. They are egoism and utilitarian. So firstly, egoism. In a nutshell, an egoist is someone who requires that a decision benefit himself or herself, or at the very least has to be in line with the interests of the agent. For example, if you have $100 and choosing between donating them or treating yourself to a new pair of shoes, an egoist would just simply buy the pair of shoes. And that's okay. Remember that the pursuit of self-interest is not the same as selfishness. Utilitarian theory applies the concept of majority happiness. In making a decision about something, ask yourself, what would be the decision that would bring about the greatest benefit and happiness for the greatest number of people? This is a good principle to apply when it comes to making decisions for a group or whenever large numbers of people are involved. Finally, we have the virtue theory. As part of the deontological category, virtue theory is used when deciding whether a decision is good or bad is dependent on the virtues or morality of the agent making that decision. So when you have two persons doing the same thing, you would likely agree that the person you find to be more virtuous, that carries a higher moral standard, will make a better decision, even though the action is essentially the same. So I hope this helps you understand the essentials of Topic 2 or Chapter 2 a little bit better. Make sure that you do the necessary revision, and I'll see you in lecture.